politics is very team oriented now. It's very much, and there's a guy you write about in your book, Newt Gingrich, who is, I think, the rules of, and we're seeing this, they're crumbling down, but the unwritten rules of politics have made the wheels greasy for years. And the first person who has said, look, the unwritten rules are actually not rules, and I'm going to break them, and I'm going to be the first one to do that. I'm going to benefit from them. And I think about football, and isn't Bill Belichick that guy? Isn't he the guy that said, look, you can't line up a tailback at left tackle and fool the Ravens in a playoff game? Well, of course you can, actually. It's in the rules. Yeah. As long as you run it with the refs and they don't screw you over, you're fine. And it's like there's so many interesting connections there. But I think the connection really does stem from this has become a team game. And you do what you can to win, right? And like the connections are so, like, I think acute now.
So Belichick, Gingrich, are you in favor of that comp?
I'm going to go with no, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, great.
Belichick sustained the success.
Oh, sure. That's a good point.
Newt lasted 3.5 years as Speaker, and it was a pretty spectacular fall, and it was real rocky. He had the great moment. He won the Super Bowl in 1994. He got Republicans to the majority in the House, but they put up a bunch of 6 and 10 seasons after that.
You're saying,
so he's Chip Kelly then?
I was going to say he's Joe Flacco.
So isn't he Chip Kelly? Where Chip Kelly came in and like rewrote football for like a year.
If you're willing to let that be on the NFL level, or if you're willing to let that be on the college level too, because Chip was very short-lived on the NFL level.
Yeah, but he like won 10 games with Mark Sanchez. Like he was.
That is a feat that you should hang a banner for that. Honestly.
Yeah.
Steve, so you're from Massachusetts. Are you a Pats fan?
Yeah, I duck for cover outside of New England when I admit that to people. But yeah, I mean, I grew up a Patriots fan. I always try to remind people, Patriots. I know the last 20 years we're spoiled. What can I say? But when I grew up, late 80s, early 90s, the Patriots were barely an NFL franchise. May not have even been an NFL franchise. I mean, you couldn't watch the games on local TV. The stadium was 3/4 empty. It was like a glorified high school stadium. They played in the team. When I was, probably 15 years old or something, the team basically almost moved to St. Louis.
That's right.
Almost lost the franchise. So, it's been like, I do think Patriots, look, we're spoiled beyond belief, whatever. And I'm not looking for any sympathy, but I think Pats fans did put in a lot of lean years there before this all happened.
Is it not ironic that you start doing stuff on Sunday Night Football and Football Night in America the year that the Patriots are not going to make the playoffs?
Yeah.
I have said this to quite a few people. It's like the first week I was there, I think it was 13%. It went down to 2% the next week. And I said,
you're the reason.
First time, right? Just in time for the Bills to win the AFC East.
Right. People forget that though. The Dick McPherson years, like they were bad, and they almost moved. Like before Robert Kraft bought the team, they were going to move to St. Louis. They were on their way out, and then it was Parcells and Bledsoe basically that just said, "Look, that kind of got the team on the right track." They played the Super Bowl against the Packers, and like I think people forget that like a Patriots fan had not only heartbreak but also irrelevance at times. The heartbreak being the Super Bowl in '85 and '96, but also that period of time when they couldn't win a game, and the Bills were not only winning all the time, but going to all the Super Bowls, and it's a far cry from what's happening lately.
I wanted to ask, who do you think the political comparison would be then for Belichick? And since you don't think it's Newt, and what about Brady?
Well, Brady, longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Look. Let's see how the rest of the year goes for Tampa. I know it's. I don't think you're expecting them to win the Super Bowl at this point, but if they made a run in the playoffs, I think you could make a Brady-Biden comparison.
Wow!
Because there's Biden at 78 winning the presidency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is 10 years older than anybody else who's ever won it.
Yeah.
What if Brady? I could kind of see. He's been at the game so long. For Belichick. The one I would give you is Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But he had his fans. He got elected, but people. This is in the book.
You wrote about this. How he. Yeah.
If you were on the right, you hated Bill Clinton. and he lies through his teeth. He never tells the truth. Clintonian, but he was good at the game. He was a natural, and he kept winning. They couldn't beat him. They couldn't beat him in 92. They couldn't beat him in 96. They took the House in 94. They thought they had him then. That didn't work. They tried to impeach him. They did impeach him, but they couldn't beat Bill Clinton. I think and it drove the people who didn't like Bill Clinton crazy. And I see a lot of that with Belichick.
Well, and then when Al Gore tried to do it on his own, he sort of wasn't quite good enough, right? Like that might be the Brady sort of moving to Tampa Bay. And
so you had one for Reagan that I thought was interesting. I would have said Reagan and Brady kind of similar for the age thing as well, but the continued winning. I really like the Biden one. It's obviously more relevant.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
What about so here's the one we were arguing over. I said that Mahomes and Obama would be the two that I would compare, and my reasoning being that Obama changed the landscape of politics and the presidency forever, and I think Mahomes is doing that at the quarterback position.
And I said Aaron Rodgers because I think both started out really hot, but if you sort of look at, like, Rodgers only won one Super Bowl, like Obama's accomplishments are not necessarily all that impressive compared to how he started. I sort of think of them as the same, but I could be wrong. I don't know. You're the expert. Let's hear it.
I like the Mahomes one on that. I think there's a I'm not trying to diss Rodgers, but I think there's a charisma and kind of a fun likability factor that Mahomes has going for him that I think Obama had going for him in politics too.
So I had Mahomes compared to Ronald Reagan, and this was my comparison. It was that Reagan lost how many states in like the two elections, like 3 or 4?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like Mahomes has never had a bad game in his whole life. Reagan had never had a bad state. He beat the Chiefs this year 48-22 against their road opponent. The road opponents that they've beaten are 48-20. Like Reagan won California and New York as a Republican, although that was more likely back then. But like that was kind of like my take was that Reagan was just a flat out winner the way that Mahomes kind of is.
I have one more. This is my favorite one. Greg Williams and Steve Bannon.
I said Rudy Giuliani, by the way, which I do think Rudy Giuliani has done more to tank anything than Greg did.
Greg wasn't trying to tank. That's the beautiful thing. He wasn't even trying to tank.
Yeah.
I go way back in time. I don't know if anyone will get the reference, but Lee Atwater would be my Greg Williams. He was the dark arts political consultant of the 80s.
That is a good one. That was, I still remember the Atwater question. There was an Atwater question on my AP US history
gotcha.
test. That's the extent of what I know. It's not much.